Welcome to another episode of On the Clock. We're here with your hosts, Raul Lascano and George Martinez. You're on the clock.
All right, so on today's show of On the Clock, we have a very special guest. We have Drew Phillips from Phillips QB Academy. Drew, welcome to the show.
Appreciate you guys having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, Coach, man. How you been? Let me start off by telling you how you been. How's the family? I know COVID's been really crazy with everybody, but how are you and the family? Everybody good?
Yeah, so we've been blessed so far. Nobody in the family's gotten it yet, nobody in the family has been tested positive yet. I'm pretty confident I had it in January, but I haven't had the antibody test yet, so we'll see. But everybody seems to be doing pretty good. Trying to do your best to social distance and wear your mask, but even that doesn't seem to always do the trick. So, but everybody's doing good so far, so that's good.
Yeah, and I could imagine having a quarterback academy and being outside. I think that's a little bit better than being inside, right?
Oh, a lot better.
Yeah.
We've been, especially in this heat, they say that the heat kills the virus a little bit better. And if you've been outside for 10 minutes, you know that it's hot.
Yeah.
Especially here.
So we're outside most of the time, and we keep our groups to a appropriate range.
Right.
We have hand sanitizer, we have ball spray that help clean the football. So we've taken some precautions to help keep our guys safe.
I saw that on the list of clients that you had. We recently had Kyle Kelly on the show. Yeah. We talked about him, and man, I saw some of the clips, and I saw Kyle Kelly. I saw Harold Cook on there. I saw Bryce Norton. These are some legit QBs, man, that you had a helping hand. And who are some other ones that you had along the way that aren't on the website? But
sure, yeah. So I've been blessed to get the opportunity to train a lot of these guys across the state of Florida. I did have Kyle Kelly. One of the cool things about Kyle Kelly was that his dad was Kenny Kelly. And so when I was like 10, I would go to his baseball camp, and Kenny Kelly was my coach for baseball.
Wow.
And so so it came all the way back around. And so I'm pretty close with his dad now. And it's pretty cool to have the opportunity to train his kid. So Kyle's a stud, man.
Yeah.
Ball State got a steal with him.
Oh, absolutely.
He's got a real opportunity at Gaither to put up some huge numbers. Mm-hmm. I think that's a little bit better system for what his skill set is, and I think they'll use him in ways I think there's a good chance he could throw for 3,000 and run for 1,000 next year for them.
Oof.
And then I had Harold Cook. Harold Cook had a great year over at Calvary. I really thought that he was going to be a D1 guy. I thought minimum he'd be a 1AA guy, but that wasn't the case this past year, so he ended up going to a D2 school called Shorter. And I think he's got a pretty good chance to start. At least that's what they're telling him. So he's been working his tail off. And then I have guys like Bryce Norton. Bryce is over in the Cocoa Beach area, Rockledge, and he's got a couple good offers. I have Cocoa Beach's quarterback, DJ Arroyo, who's a 21. He's got Kentucky and Kansas State and maybe Boston College, a couple of those programs coming after him. I've worked with guys like Nick Vadiato, who's down in Miami. He's at University School. And he's got Southern Miss and a couple of Troy, a couple of those Sun Belt schools. And I worked with a kid in Orlando, a couple good kids in Orlando. One's Timmy McLean. He actually committed to USF about a month ago. He's a lefty from Seminole Sanford High School. He's a stud. Yeah. Wait till you see him play for USF. He's gonna be incredible.
Nice.
And I have a kid over there now his name's Gunnar Smith. He's a 22 kid. He's about 6'5". He plays at Lake Highland, which is a 8A powerhouse, and he's got a few good offers as well. And then I've been blessed to train a lot of really good ones. I've gotten to work with guys like Nick Scalzo, who are on QB1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
I've gotten to work with I don't know if you guys remember Dwayne Lawson back in the day. He was at Hillsborough High, about 6'5", 200 pounder.
Oh yeah.
He was a stud. And then my dude right now is this kid named Brian Maurer. He's from Ocala. He's actually at the University of Tennessee right now, and he's got a chance to compete for the starting job. And I'd like his chances, and I'm going up to see him this weekend. So I think he's got a good shot. I've been blessed, like I said, to work with a lot of studs over the years, and I got a couple in the chamber right now who are getting ready to blow up. So I'm excited about those guys too.
And again, when you see these great kids that want to, participate in your program, that says a lot about your craft. It's about the work that you put in with these kids and the results they're able to produce. Because that way, a lot of training is word of mouth. People advertise for you by the production. Hey, who trained you? Oh, Drew Phillips did. So talk about the background. What made you get into it? Your passion for this, and how'd you get started?
Sure. So I played high school football over in St. Petersburg, Florida, at a school called Northside Christian, a little 2A school. We played schools like Cambridge and Indian Rocks and Keswick Christian Shorecrest. And we did play Berkeley back in the day when I was there. So Berkeley was pretty good back then too. They had Billy Hatcher. I don't know if you remember him, but he was a stud. And then I went to a 1AA program called Jacksonville University. My head coach over there was Kerwin Bell, who was actually a Florida Gator quarterback and was the OC last year at USF. And he taught me a ton of stuff. And when I was coming back from college to come home, I would run some camps for some national for a company called National Underclassmen Combine. And I would just help them out. And then after the camps were over, I'd always have, a handful of kids come up to me and say, "Hey, coach, thanks for the work. Do you ever train in the area?" And I'd always tell them, "No, like I'm up in school right now. Like I don't have time to come down here and train you, but maybe that's something we'll look into once I get out of school." Mm-hmm. And so when I graduated, I came back down. I thought, I have all this knowledge for these kids. There's no reason for me to just keep it to myself. I should really help these kids out, because I wish somebody would have taught me some of the things that I knew then.
Yeah, you'd have been like you've been a super stud in high school, right?
Right, exactly. So, you teach these middle school kids, like, here's what it takes to play high school, and they're in middle school and they're killing it. Right. And you teach these high school kids, hey, here's what it takes to play in college, and now they're in high school and they're killing it. And so you're like it makes too much sense for me not to do this. So I started this as a part-time gig in 2012 officially. I was doing it a little bit before that, but really in 2012 I started as a part-time job, and really just as something as a pretty much a hobby. Like, hey, I like doing this. This is fun. I make a few bucks on the side. Like, this is great. Like, we'll see where it goes. And then I was blessed in, I think it was 2015, to get an opportunity from a company called Football Hotbed to run a national QB competition for middle school kids. The goal was to make it sort of like the Elite 11, but for middle school kids. And so that first year it was just loaded with talent. We had about 8 P5 kids, guys who were at Wake Forest, Penn State, Tennessee, Kentucky, Boston College, and the list goes on, Tulsa. And the kid who actually won the event was Spencer Rattler, who was probably going to be the starter at Oklahoma. And I think he's got a pretty good chance of making it to New York if there's a football season for a Heisman finalist.
Right.
So that really started getting me some national pub. My brand started getting out a little bit because of that. Like, oh, this guy, he can evaluate talent at a young age, which is, fantastic. And so I was given an opportunity to kind of make this my full-time job in 2016. I was burned out from my job, and I thought, I'll just do this to kind of pay some bills. And that's when it really all took off for me. I really started seeing some real gains in what I was doing. And because I could make it my full-time focus, it really started to take off. And so I've been blessed with that. And since 2016, I haven't looked back. I do, 5 or 6 national events every year. I work for a company called QB Universe, which is a national QB camp. And we have 3 camps next year, one in Atlanta, one in St. Louis, one in Phoenix. And those camps are for 2021, and 2 of them already sold out, which is insane.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was crazy, right? I mean, we're 8 months out from the first camp, and it's already sold out. So that's pretty wild. And then I just got back from the Future 4, which was our 6th year, which is that national middle school QB competition. And we had some pretty good talent top to bottom at that. And then next week and this weekend coming up, I'm going to Knoxville to work with one of my buddies, Tony Colson, who does the Gunslinger Challenge, which is another QB competition in Tennessee. So I'm around. I'm working pretty hard right now.
You've been busy, man. That's really good, man.
Yeah, no doubt.
And with COVID happening, did I can imagine it just spiked up more, right? Well, I mean, the quarterback stuff, not the actual COVID stuff.
Right. Yeah, no question. So, I really thought for sure when COVID started, I started preparing hey, man, we're going to take a big hit in business, on the business side. And so I started preparing for that. Like, how are you going to get creative with Zoom calls and virtual learning and virtual lessons, because that's the wave. And so I started doing some of those. And then I started getting phone calls from parents who were like, hey, man, this virtual stuff is great, but they're doing it all day for school. How about we just get together and, we'll kind of risk it a little bit. So I was like, all right, well, let's, take the precautions. So, I got gloves and spray and hand sanitizer. And so I really thought it was going to be a huge blow, but it really took off. And so typically the really busy months are, May, June, and July for me. And I've been working my tail off since spring break, since everything got shut down. So it's been a blessing that I've had that opportunity to do that. And thankfully none of my guys have gotten ill. So it's been really good, but yeah, it's been really busy since spring break.
I can imagine, man. I remember when right before we jumped on, you said you only had 4 days off. That was the major holidays.
Yeah.
Right?
So I've only had 4 days off since spring break. Since March 14th, I've had Mother's Day, Father's Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July. So
on top of being a father as well and a husband, man, it's tough, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I've been blessed with a wife who is very supportive of my passion, and she's very understanding. So if I didn't have that in my corner, I don't know where I would be.
Right.
She takes a lot of she sacrifices a lot so that I can do what I love, and I'm very appreciative of her for doing that. So. Yeah, she's a super blessing for me and my family.
Same here for both of us, man. We had to introduce the idea because that's the toughest part. Not buying the equipment for the podcast, not getting a website. None of that stuff is difficult. The difficult part was
it's the time.
Yeah, introducing an idea that I'm going to take a little bit more time, but I promise you, this is going to pay off in the end here. We're gonna do this.
Exactly.
That was the toughest way.
It definitely helps to have somebody who believes in your vision, and is very unselfish about that, because you have people who are like, nah, this isn't gonna happen. But my wife is not that person, and so I've been blessed to have chosen the right person.
Do you, by any chance, I know it's gonna sound corny. Do you, by any chance, do quarterback stuff with wifey in the house? Like, do you throw the hamburger bun? She tosses the hamburger back. It's like, hey, get the 3-step drop. What are we doing here? I'm just kidding.
No. My son's starting to.
Yeah.
So that might start driving her crazy a little bit.
Right.
But no, I try not to bring my football stuff home. I try to keep it out in the parks and on the field.
I try to as best I can as well. I got 3 boys. Man, when I tell you that I love them, all of them to death equally. But when I tell you, because it's funny to me, I'm a guy, so it's funny to watch them jump off the couch and body slam somebody on the floor or do a tackling drill in the middle of the kitchen. Like it's
right.
But you can't do it while she's cooking, and then that's a problem. So.
Right. I've gotten that look like, what are you doing?
Right.
Sorry. Nothing. We're just playing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't think about it, and then you're like, oh, that was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have done that.
That's not good parenting right there. I instigated that whole thing. I apologize.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I even had my kid go in the kitchen. We have tiles, and I was like, listen, if you want juice, I need to see the icky drill all the way through the center of the – and they're like – she's looking at him like, what are you doing? I was like, I need to buy time because they have to burn energy. They've been in the house all day. Like, this is crazy. You don't want us to go outside, but we got to do something.
Doing ladder drills on the tile.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Gotta get those quick feet. You want the juice, get the quick feet.
Gotta get creative.
Right. Exactly.
So, Drew, I'm going to ask you real quick here. Recently, we had Patrick Mahomes just signed a $500 million contract.
What are your rolls thoughts? Off the tongue so nicely.
Yeah, it does, right?
It does.
What are your thoughts around him? Is he the best quarterback right now in your eyes?
I don't think there's any question that he is. I mean, what he did last year was incredible. Not only that, but you can start to see, like, okay, he came in 3 years ago, had some success. And then last year he won the MVP. And then the year before, 2 years ago he won the MVP. And last year he won the Super Bowl. So you start to see, okay, this guy's got it, right? He's really going to be special. And I really think the Chiefs feel pretty good about only paying him $500,000. Because if they waited 5 more years, he might have made $750 million. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that he's the best guy, top to bottom. He's athletic. His arm angles are insane. He's got arm strength that's just incredible. Some of the throws he makes are absolutely like the no-look throw. Like stuff you've just never seen before.
Right.
Like, oh, he just did that so he could go viral. Right. Like he's just out there having fun, throwing the ball around. And,
all the stuff that a quarterback trainer probably tells you not to do.
Not to do.
That's rule number 1. Like, you can't. How do you throw to a guy and you're not even looking at him? You just have to have a lot of confidence in what you're doing, and there's no doubt he's got confidence. I tell you what, though, Andy Reid, man, that guy, he can evaluate some cues, man.
Yes,
He's gotten some. He made Alex Smith look like a Pro Bowler. That's pretty impressive.
It is, man. When Patrick was coming out of college, and remember they had all those reports, well, we don't know this, we don't know that, and I'm looking at his college film, and I'm no evaluator, but I'm just looking at, I don't see anything wrong with this at all. Like, whoever gets this kid is going to be I think it'll be okay.
Yeah, so the only red flags you would probably see coming out of college was he had, really funky motion. And Andy Reid doesn't seem to really care about that at all, obviously. Look, he had then he had Brett Favre, and that guy's got a crazy motion.
Yeah.
So he probably just looked at him and said, this kid's got talent, and I can mold this kid. But, the motion was a little funky. But then, he wasn't his, a lot of these guys put a lot of stuff or they did were into like your record. So, he was just average at Texas Tech. But if you looked at yeah, dude, they scored 80 points a game.
Right.
They lost 80 to 85.
Right.
Like their defense couldn't stop anybody.
Right.
So all you had to do was dig a little deeper to see this kid actually, has some talent. And, that was kind of during that shift too, because that was when Trubisky was coming out, and Trubisky was more of your pro style, your prototypical type quarterback. And that same year Watson came out, and he was more of a spread guy. And so the NFL is trying to transition to that. And so you don't really know what you're going to get out of Watson. And then you also had Mahomes, who you didn't know what you're going to get out of him. So the NFL was starting to transition into more of a spread, throw it around type offense. And Trubisky doesn't fit in well with, what
poor Trubisky, man. Poor guy.
I feel bad. I mean,
yeah, man.
I feel bad for the Bears because
for the
Bears
you passed up on Deshaun Watson
away from right. You passed on Deshaun and Mahomes. If you had either one of them, you might be in the Super Bowl.
Right.
That's how good your team is. You're a quarterback away from being really good. So
I agree, man.
Yeah, that one's gonna bite them. That one's gonna sting for a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Mahomes, Mahomes is special, but also, you also got to give a head, like a cap tip to Kingsbury, because Kingsbury had Mayfield, Mahomes, and Kyler Murray.
Yes.
I mean, he had all those guys, so he knows how to evaluate cues too, man. He knows what he's looking for.
He does, man. What's your top 10? Have you seen the top 10 list that came out, man?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it. I think it's hard to argue with what they have. I really like Mahomes. I don't think there's any doubt. I think Breeze and Brady are on their way down, but I still think they're elite talents. Now, week 8, that might change for Brady. I mean, dude's 42. At what point do you hit a wall? Because you see it. Like you saw it with Manning. Manning hit a wall at the end of the season, the year they won the Super Bowl. He could barely throw the ball. Yeah. Brett Favre lost a lot of juice on his throws at the end of his career.
Right.
So at some point you're going to go, man, that might be it. Like that, is that it? Like his arms gone. He's so smart though. He might figure it out.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I apologize. I'm gonna be honest with you. My guy's being very quiet right now, but he's a super Bucks fan. He's a super Bucks guy. And I've told him the same thing. I think Brady is phenomenal.
It just scares me.
He's just going to check down 27 times because
stretching
the field is not him anymore.
Yeah, well, they don't need to, though. I mean, they have Gronkowski, they have O.J. Howard, they have Cam Brate. You can get the ball to those guys and let them do what they do. Right. The only thing that scares me is that this is uncharted territory, right? He's 42. Yeah. He's older. I honestly think he's still playing at a pretty high level for his age.
He is.
And you're just waiting for that moment. Like at some point it's going to happen and you're going to be like, that's it.
Right.
He's done. So I really think that if the Bucks want to make a run, and this is the year, so I hope COVID doesn't take that away.
Right.
Because I really don't think next year I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be what he was.
Well, George thinks he's got 4 more years of 10. He thinks 4 more years out of it. I was like, okay, 4 more years, 42 plus 4 is 46. That's super dangerous, man. I don't think he has that much juice.
It gets a little scary.
Yeah.
And that one day you just wake up and you just don't have it anymore. You ever watch the movie Rookie of the Year? Yeah. Where he you know what I mean? Like he gets that super arm strength and then like he's throwing 98 miles an hour. And then he just falls, and it's just like it's gone.
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. It's gone. Like I don't know what happened. It's just gone, and that's what's going to be what happens. Yeah. But I really do hope that we can have one good year here and make a real run. Because I tell you what, I love the Bucks. Mm-hmm. I really haven't followed the Bucks in 15 years, just because I'm more of a college person.
Right.
But I really think that if I would sacrifice 15 more bad years for them to make a Super Bowl run this year.
Yes. So, especially it's here in Tampa.
I hope they do it. Right, I know it's the perfect story. Can you imagine like Brady wins the Super Bowl here in Tampa? Like that's it. Like
that's
he's
it.
Done.
Retire.
That'll be
I'm okay with that.
Retire.
Okay with that.
Done. Yeah.
Well, that's what you come to Florida for anyway.
Okay.
You don't come to Florida. Disney and retire. That's all your 2 things that you really do.
I mean, look how he's senile. He's already walking into people's houses that aren't his. So he's already old. So
right, he's
hopefully
hopefully
doesn't develop.
Yeah,
hopefully doesn't develop the Jameis Winston. You can't see people because if he's walking into the wrong house, hopefully he sees the right color jersey.
Yeah, I love Jameis. I really thought that was the right pick for the Bucs, but man, I just at some point like the interceptions just drive you bonkers.
What drove us crazy was it took him 5 years to get surgery. It took you 5 years. Right. You had eye problems in FSU. You knew you did. Yeah.
Right. I would have done it 3 years ago.
Right.
But I understood. He said, I think somewhere he said that, if he'd have got it and it would have messed him up, like that would have ruined his career. I get it. But if that dude throws 22 picks instead of 30, like the Bucs win 11 games probably.
Yeah. And he gets re-signed.
Yeah.
And he gets re-signed and, he's not making 30 million, but he's probably making 20.
That's true.
So I really thought it would have been awesome. I know it was probably impossible, but it would have really been cool to see him be the backup here for 1 year and learn under Brady just for a year and then see what happens. Right. But they could have signed him for $1 million. I mean, isn't that what he got it for the?
He got 1.1.
Yeah, I mean, he could definitely sign for 1.1 here, but I think the bridges were burned too bad. So I like Jameis. I think he could be good. I think you can't throw picks like that. It's too many picks.
What about Carson Wentz? He's right underneath Brady at number 8, and he's above. Well, the problem with me with him was, and he's above Dak Prescott, which I don't even think Dak should even be, in my opinion. Number 11, 12, 13 maybe. Top 10, I don't know. And Dak's above Matthew Stafford at 10. But Carson Wentz is sitting at 8, and I'm thinking to myself, well, you got bailed out with Nick Foles twice. Like, I don't even understand how did you get top 10 from last year?
I do. I'll be honest. I like Wentz. And I have a tough buddy guy. I have a buddy who lives in Philly, and he gives me a hard time all the time for that. But, if that guy's healthy, I think he's incredible. He just can't. He's always hurt.
Right.
So I think healthy Carson Wentz is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, but the problem is that there's a 50-50 chance he's not healthy.
Yeah, he doesn't finish.
If he can't stay healthy, he can't play.
To me, he's the new version of Andrew Luck. Everybody raved about Andrew Luck, how great he is, how much potential he has. He has all the measurable. He has everything. Right. He couldn't stay healthy over his career and exited early. And I think hopefully it doesn't happen to Wentz because I always want people to stay healthy and have a great career. But you start to question, now we're on he's probably on year 6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
He was right after Winston, so he's probably going into year 5.
He's on to year 5 now, so it's one of those make or break.
But
now
you're right.
Drafted Jalen Hurts.
Right. Yikes. What's funny? When Hurts was coming out, I told somebody, like, where do you think Hurts will go? Like, I was like, he'll go somewhere where they can utilize his ability. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, well, he needs to be in like a spread system like Philadelphia. And somebody laughed at me like, oh, he'll never go to Philadelphia. I'm like, hey, he'd be a perfect backup there because he doesn't need to come in and play right away. Right. And he's got the skill set to fit in with what they want to do. And there's a good chance he plays if Carson goes down. So Jalen, and that's a perfect system for him to be in. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Yeah, I think Doug Peterson knows how to use him.
I do like Wentz. I like him a little bit better than Prescott, but Prescott's healthy and Prescott plays.
What's his issue? You're a quarterback. You're a quarterback guru running the academy. I want to know, man. Like, because for me, it's he got Des Bryant pretty much, in my opinion, and this is just the thoughts of Raul Lascano. I think he got Des ran out of freaking Dallas. You know what I'm saying? Because of the inaccuracies that he was having. He was just inconsistent, throwing super high balls. The freaking Des asked him to go catch some wild crap, and then Des gets caught with the whole, well, Des can't produce no more type deal. And I didn't see that very much. I think it was more of he's a young quarterback trying to come into the league and find his way. But now that he's had a full, couple seasons, I'm just thinking like he can't win those games. He's just
is he worth $40 million?
He's not worth the $40 million.
No. He's not worth $40 million. He's a good quarterback.
Right.
Is he a top flight quarterback? No, I don't think so. What he did his rookie year was pretty impressive because he came from Dan Mullen's system, which is, a spread style, completely different footwork, and actually did pretty good for the Cowboys. What they had going for him that year was Ezekiel Elliott just went crazy.
Right.
And so what they were doing all that play action and the guys he was throwing to were wide open. And so when Zeke's not on, Dak's not on. And to combine it with, they don't really have any weapons at the receiver position. CeeDee Lamb now, but they don't have like they don't have what Brady has down here. They don't have Godwin and Evans and Gronkowski and Brait and O.J. Howard. They got a couple guys. They got Zeke. They got a really good O-line. But I don't feel like if I was a DC, I'd probably look at their receivers and go, we'll be all right. We're going to stack the box and we're going to make them throw the ball. And I think that's what they're starting to do. Yeah. You know, they're going to try to make him win the games. And so if he can't prove that he can win those games, then, you know, Dallas will probably move on. I think he's a solid quarterback, though. I think he can be a starter for a while. And I think at worst case, he'll be a backup for a while. But he's going to have to beat some teams by himself. And that's really what's going to make the difference.
Right.
Well, there was a thing we were talking about earlier in a couple earlier podcasts that talked about Dak's production when he doesn't have Zeke and what his production is with Zeke. And back to your point, that play action pass is what's made Dak Prescott such a good quarterback in this league. Now you force them where, hey, they load the box. Now they can't run the ball.
Yeah.
Now Dak is forced to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game. And, you know, they went and got out and got Amari Cooper to try to help him, to give him a number one that can stretch the field. But I think Amari Cooper is one of the most overrated receivers, personally, that's out there right now. Because I think he'd be coverable. I think he's a guy. He's a big physical guy. I don't even think he's that physical personally. But he's a big guy. But I don't know if he's not that elite top end guy. I think you can bracket underneath him, play zone, and cover him.
Even if he does beat you, it's like a 50-50 shot. He's going to drop the ball.
Right.
You know,
that's what got him run out of Oakland.
Right.
The fact he couldn't catch the ball.
Right.
So you beat him. You finally beat the guy, then you drop the ball. So I mean, you're basically gambling, right? Hey, even if he beats our guy, like he might drop it. There's a good chance
here's a question I ask you then: if you were to close your eyes and swap Trubisky for Dak Prescott, with that offensive line, is Trubisky and Dak Prescott the same quarterback?
No, I think Prescott's better than Trubisky.
Yeah. I would go with that too, and I don't even like Dak Prescott like that, but I agree with you.
I think Trubisky could have been good.
Yeah.
And he might still be. I don't know. But right now, I'd still go with Dak. Trubisky he's got a lot of problems. He's got a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So
and maybe he's
figure himself out.
You know, maybe it's the scheme, right? Or maybe it's the type of offense they're running. You know what I mean? We don't know. It just doesn't fit him. And that's coaching 101. We got to create something around your athlete. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean, how many of these coaches, I mean, you see it all the time at every level, high school, college, and pros. They just try to fit somebody into their system instead of doing what they do well, right?
Right.
Oh, my guy's a dual threat. Like at Georgia when they had Fields and Fromm. Well, they try to make Fields like a pro-style, 21 personnel quarterback. And then he goes to Ohio State, and he's a Heisman finalist because he's running the spread, and he's throwing the ball all over the place, and he's running the ball all over the place. So
yeah,
it really, system has a huge deal to do with it. The Chicago system, anybody else, but I mean, Deshaun or Mahomes over there, and it's a different story.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, let me ask you this. With the rookie classes coming in, you got Joe Burrow, you got Jalen Hurts, you got Raul's a big Dolphin fan, so he's all over Tua.
Yep.
I love Tua.
Out of that rookie class, who do you think really stands out to you year one? And again, back to what you just said, the system they're going to be in. Yep. Who has the best fit of the system they're going to be in and can play early and do well?
I think we're 2 years out from that. I just want to say, Joe Burrow did last year was, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that.
Incredible.
I mean, I watched him play probably 7 or 8 times because I'm an SEC fan. And
lights out, man. He was lights out.
I mean, just incredible. Like, not only like you're like, okay, yeah, he had high. I mean, his completion percentage was in like 80%. I don't care what level you play at. That's insane.
Right.
I mean, Little League, that's insane. You know what I mean? So 80% completion. And he did it in the SEC. And he won a national championship. And he played Clemson. I mean, he played some good football teams, and he made them look bad.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's Joe Burrow. I don't know if that's Joe Brady. It might be a combination of both. But what he did was just insane. And, I watched him play, and then some of the movements he had in the pocket where he extended plays, like he always seemed to know where the pressure was coming from and how to evade it and then get the ball downfield to one of his guys.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got, Jefferson and Chase.
Yeah.
So he had some really
good guys,
really good receivers. And he had Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's that kid's talented. Now he's playing for Mahomes. I mean, he's talented. So you never know. But, I mean, dang, what he did was just incredible. He deserved to go first overall. He's got the size, arm, what he did. I don't know if it'll translate or not because I'm always one of those guys that I want to see it over the course of a few years, and it was just kind of a one-year deal. But man, that was incredible what he did. I think Herbert's got some growth to go through. Just watching his tape, I will say this, in his defense, if you watch him play the Rose Bowl and you watch him play the rest of the year, he's a completely different kid. And I think a lot of that has to do with, I think they really chained him, what he does well down, because I think they were afraid of losing him. I think if they lost him for the year, that they would have not made the Rose Bowl, or that's what the coaching staff up there felt. And so when they let him loose in the Rose Bowl, like, he looked really, really good. I don't know if that's because it was his last game or what it was, but if he doesn't get in the system, I think that fits what he does well. I think he could be like a Trubisky as well. I love Tua. Like, I think Tua could be great. I really do.
Yeah, man.
I know you like to hear that.
I do, man, because I'm worried, special, man. I'm worried. And we talked to Justin Allen just a couple of days ago, and he reassured me. Justin Allen, his brothers, Dwayne Allen, plays for the Dolphins, and he reassured me. He's like, listen, man, the system that kid's coming from, it's Nick Saban. Like, he's got him ready. Right. So he's be a professional. Right. I'm just worried about, when quarterbacks come into the league. Health, and I'm also worried about growth, me too, because Joe Burrow going to the Bengals, I'm worried, because who does Joe Burrow have to learn from? A lot of the guys, remember, it used to be when you came into the league, you're going to have to sit behind one of the greats. You're going to sit behind Marino, Elway. You're going to sit behind Kelly, Favre, Aikman, and Warren Moon. You sit behind these guys to learn. That way you could take over eventually. But
now you're in.
Now you're in.
You're playing.
You're in the fire immediately.
You're done. Yeah. And then you're gone in there. And now you're like, what am I going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, it's scary. I think if he can stay healthy, he could be really good. The problem is he hasn't been healthy yet. Right. I mean, his first year he got hurt as a freshman. His second year he got hurt. His third year he got hurt twice. That's not a good sign.
At all.
Like I said, I like to see consistencies, and the one thing he's consistent at is getting hurt. And the part of that's because of his size. He's a smaller guy, but man, his arm talent is special.
Yep.
And so I can understand him being a top 5 pick for sure.
But see, this is one of my things. Like the Miami Dolphins had 13 picks in that draft. Okay,
right.
And I understand 13 picks is a lot. It's the way he finagled it, the way he created, that was great. But for me, I'm looking at Joe Burrow, just like you are. And I'm sitting here saying, if I'm Miami, I have 3 picks in the first round. I'm going to trade 1 or 2 to move up. I got to go get Joe Burrow. I got to try to make a push for it. Maybe they did. Maybe behind the scenes they did do it. I don't know anything. I'm just a high school coach outside looking in, and they could have. But I would love to have known about it. Like, say, hey, yeah, we tried to make the push, and like, all right, cool, thanks a lot. But I don't. They're probably not going to release that information because they got Tua, so they want to hurt his feelings. But
the scary part, is, like I said, Joe Burrow's numbers were insane, but you also, that could have been just a 1 year. It could have been just a 1 year. He could have been his receivers. He had a good offensive line, 5 seniors or 5 guys that went to the draft. His running back went. You just don't know. So you're going to sacrifice 3 picks to go up and get a guy who had a really good year for 1 year. Right. What I thought they should have done is improve the rest of the team, tank next year. And then taking Fields or Lawrence, because I think Fields and Lawrence are special. I think those 2 guys are Hall of Famers.
Right.
If they stay healthy, there's no doubt in my mind that they're the first 2 picks next year. There's no doubt.
You think so?
Yeah. They're special, man. Both those guys are special.
Yeah, especially Fields.
Ironically enough, my mentor trains both of them in Atlanta at the same time. Isn't that crazy?
It is, man.
So. It's insane. I think they're both going to be special. But I love Tua. I think if Tua stays healthy, he'll be the best of everybody drafted this year.
And what about Cam Newton joining the Patriots? What do you think of, Cam's going over there, and now he's the man. What do you think?
We'll see. I mean, that's like Bill Belichick marrying Dennis Rodman. Like, just
they doesn't look
good. Yeah.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see whose ego gets shot first, right? Because Bill Belichick is like, this is the way we do it. This is the Patriots way. And Cam's a little, he's a little out there, and that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. But I guarantee they're going to clash at some point because but Belichick has a way. I don't know if it was Brady or Belichick or a combination of both, but they have a way of getting these guys like Moss, Corey Dillon. Yeah. These guys who have issues issues like they're just more about them instead of the team.
Yeah, extroverts.
Right. And they figure out a way to hone those guys in and make them productive in New England. Yeah. Will that work at the quarterback position? I don't know. If Cam's healthy, he's special. I mean, he's talented. You don't win the MVP 3 or 4 years ago and then just lose, forget how to play football. But he's got to be healthy. what they should have really done was call Andrew Luck and say, please come be our quarterback. Yeah, right.
That's funny,
please
man.
come help us. But I think Cam could be really good. I think, the AFC East, no offense to you, is always open.
Yeah,
now,
always.
the Bills, I'm not a big Josh Allen guy. And if they had a quarterback that was really good, they could be really good.
They played well last
I think
year.
the
They were
Dolphins
tough.
are I think the Dolphins are in a transition, and I think the Jets are just bad.
Yeah.
So who knows? I mean,
Right.
I feel like that division's wide open now.
Yeah, it's super wide open when Brady left. So I was sitting here going, okay, now we're all on an even peel here. We're all going to be even now because you don't have Tom. The Jets are the Jets, and then the Bills with Josh Allen. I'm like, okay, with Tua coming in, I'm like, this is gonna be fine. And then you get the dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, Cam Newton to the Patriots. I'm like,
what's gonna happen?
Another freaking 10 years
they
of
were
this.
gonna have somebody.
Yeah, like God damn.
Yeah.
Well, for me on this, it's either going to be one of two ways. Either they go 10-6, 11-5, make
Right.
the playoffs,
Yeah.
or Cam gets released
Well,
week 6.
Really?
Yeah,
Because the
it
Eagles.
happened, just like Antonio Brown last year.
Yeah.
Right, and he's released by week 6 because they're 1-5, and that's it. They're moving on, and they're going to release him because
That's Belichick. That's Belichick going, okay, we're 2-4. Let's tank the rest of the year and go get Trevor Lawrence and Fields, and then you have to deal with one of those guys for the next 15.
I would have
boy.
loved
Which is
Trevor
even worse.
Lawrence. Lord Jesus.
Tua,
God.
Trevor, or Fields. Man,
Can you
What?
imagine?
Yeah,
In New
man.
England? Yikes.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
Just like when Manning got hurt that one year at the end of his career, and you're like, okay, like people are like, we don't have to see him anymore.
Yeah.
He's finally hurt, and then they get Andrew Luck. And you're like, God, now I got to deal with this guy for 15 years.
Right.
They got lucky he got hurt, or else they might, the South might be controlled by the Colts again.
one thing I want to get your thoughts on. We recently saw, college football is changing. I know you're a big college football fan. You mentioned it earlier. You got the Big Ten that's going to a conference-only type of schedule.
Yeah.
I know other conferences are now considering and potentially making that same shift. What are your thoughts about this conference-only schedule?
Well, to me, like this is a bad sign to me. This sounds like the beginning of the end. Why? Because what's the difference between playing a non-conference game and a conference game? As far as if it's really about COVID, right? What's the difference? Well, the difference is maybe travel, maybe.
Right.
I mean, some of these teams, especially in the South, they play a lot of teams from the South, like the 1AA schools. So they could ride a bus, So what's the difference between playing a non-conference and a conference game? Well, there really isn't much difference. And now you're killing these non-conference teams. So if you're really scared about kids getting sick from COVID, then the conference games probably aren't going to get played either. Unfortunately,
Maybe it's not a COVID thing. I was telling this to George. Maybe it's a money thing. With them looking at the possibility of reducing the fans in there, they probably can't pay the bill to put the fuel in the jet. You know what I mean? To get the team
right.
over there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, if you look at, you're going to take a loss. If you're going to take a loss to have no people in the stands. And, maybe you can get I don't know, you're already your football team or your sports team is pretty much pay for the rest of your sports.
Yeah.
So if you're talking about, okay, if we cut these conference games, we can still have girls soccer and golf and
right.
swimming and stuff like that. Then maybe that's something you really want to do because, like a lot of these little schools, like there's a good chance they won't even have any sports because they can't afford once they lose that football money, they can't afford to do anything. When I was in college, we did like a research paper and found out that like only 7 schools in the whole country make money after the sports season. That's all sports. So, yeah, you look at like people want to pay these college kids, and I think that's a good idea, but it's hard to figure out where that money's going to come from. They go, well, the NCAA and the schools make all this money. Yeah, but they send it back to the other sports. And so, your football team is paying for your girls' lacrosse, your girls' track, your girls' soccer, your girls' volleyball, and your boys' golf, your boys' baseball. They're paying for all these sports because those sports don't bring in money. Only sports that bring in money are basketball and football. So, if you take that away and now, you only have 5 or 6 schools in the country making money, now we're really hurting across the country between the rest of the FBS and FCS and D2 teams. I mean, look at all the Patriot League just canceled their season a couple days ago.
Yeah, they're done.
Which is unfortunate. Yeah. But, you're starting to see, like, people are, like, I'm starting to say, like, hey, you have to make this decision in the next, like, 2 weeks because.
Yeah, it's coming.
Like, right. Like, you either got to start and say, hey, we know the risks that are involved with starting, and we know that, hey, there's a good chance these kids get it, but even if these kids get it, we're going to let them keep playing. Or you got to say, hey, like, we know that these kids are going to get this, and we can't, we don't want to risk that. And we're going to move the season to the spring, and hopefully that there's some kind of vaccine. Yeah. And if there's not, then, we might not get to play at all. But it's going to be a huge blow financially to all the schools.
I think they're just pushing it back, just like high school. Everybody's waiting to hear what everybody else is doing because nobody knows day to day what's going on. So
somebody's going to be the first here, right?
Oh,
somebody's going to have to
someone's going to set the trend.
Decision.
Yeah, somebody's waiting for the other guy to do
we're
it.
We're playing or we're not, and you know how it is. Like, make a decision and let's go with it. If you're going to say, hey, we're going to go and we're gonna play in the fall, then let's play in the fall. And we know the risk involved, and we know that there's a good chance we're gonna, most of these kids are probably gonna get it, or I've already had it. And so, we're gonna do our best to try to prevent that, but we know that realistically, that's not very viable. And so, somebody told me the other day that they didn't think, they think that they were gonna let kids play until somebody unfortunately lost their life. That's a high school student because of it. So we just hope that doesn't happen. But,
right.
I don't know.
If you had to bet which college calls it, big school, and I'm talking about a big school. If you had to call which college has to go out there on a limb and say, you know what, we're not having a season, which college you think that would be?
I don't know, because I really think that your California schools and your Northeast schools that are in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, like that, I think some of them will make that decision.
Yeah.
I don't think your SEC schools, which are the ones that really pump the money, I really don't think they're going to do that. I think that they're going to give it a shot. They're going to, this might be the beginning of the end for that NCAA. You might see a super college football conference where it's like, okay, like here are the teams that are playing this year, COVID or not,
right.
Whatever it is, 50 teams, we're going to play and we're going to take the top. Right. We're going to take the top 16, and we're going to play those top 16 against each other, and we're going to crown a national champion based on the top 16 teams in the country.
Yeah,
so
almost like what the NBA did.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I think if you start, then you just got to let them finish.
Yeah.
Because if you don't let them finish, then it's going to end up being.
I wonder who do we have to talk to at the NCAA. I wonder who we got to talk to present this idea. I think we're on to something here, Drew Phillips. I think we're on to
something.
I don't know. We tweet them a couple times.
Maybe they'll see something.
For me on this here, what I think, I do agree. I think the small schools get hurt because that school that goes to Michigan to go get their butt whooped is paying for their entire athletic program that year. Now that game is gone. So now those scholarships are probably going to start to disappear because if the funds aren't there, the scholarships aren't going to be there either because that's what's funded by them. Now, does the school stay open for sports? What does that mean for some of these kids that have already committed? So you got kids that have already committed to USC, kids that are committed to UNLV. If those schools don't have a season, now does the SEC, to your point, I don't think the SEC cancels either, become even stronger because these kids are going to flood where football games are being played at. And does that change some decision for these kids to say, you know what, I wasn't going to go to USC.
I think that's why you haven't seen a big school make a decision yet, because that's exactly right? So you're going, okay, I'm from, Southern California, I'm from Los Angeles, and USC just canceled their season. Well, Alabama's still playing their season, or Clemson's still playing their season. Like, maybe that's the school I go to. Just like the whole pay a player thing in the state of Florida, the governor just passed where you can use your likeness to make money. Like, if you don't pass that law in Arizona, like, I'm not going to Arizona State. I'm going to Florida,
right,
where I can make some money. So you're going to see some of that for sure.
Hey, just so you know, Coach, we have a special game we like to play here.
Oh boy!
So I ask all the guys that we interview, and it's just these are questions that are not scripted. They're nothing tough, nothing you have to worry about a sweat. You're a quarterback, so you're going to be comfortable with your composure. Yeah, you're going to be good with it, man. So we like to call this and that. We like to call a couple questions to get to know you. And this and that is nothing hard, just a couple questions that me and George like to throw out. You're a family man, so I'm going to hit you with breakfast real quick. I'm a breakfast guy,
sure.
And it's going to blow your mind. I think I'm going to blow your mind here in a little bit. So is breakfast, is cereal a soup?
A soup? Oh, I haven't ever thought about that.
We've had a lot of time with quarantine, so.
What's considered a soup?
That's what we've been asking, right? Is it the temperature? It's food and liquid? Like what's, right.
What makes it different? What makes it different?
Well, if you ate cereal without milk, would you consider it a soup then? right?
Right.
So probably not a soup, I guess, if you don't have if you ate cereal dry.
Right, and there's no right or wrong answers.
it's
These are
not
just
considered-
opinionated, Coach.
Right.
You're gonna
That's an
score.
interesting question, though. I've never thought about that.
I thought so, man. And speaking of cereal, here's another one for you because, like you said, you have kids. It's gonna blow your mind when you're pouring this bowl. So me and George recently learned that Fruit Loops, okay,
Oh boy.
don't have any flavor. They're all one flavor.
No, they're all the same.
I didn't know that.
Oh, George,
so
you know
you
he's
know.
a quarterback.
See, this
Quarterbacks
is
know
he's a
this
quarterback.
stuff.
I'm the receiver coach.
Yeah.
He's on it.
They're misleading because they're all different colors, but they're all taste the same.
Yeah, I had no clue. It
You
blew
know.
my mind.
Now, sticking with the morning routine, when you get dressed in the morning,
Yep.
do you put on sock, then your shoes? Or do you go sock, shoe?
Sock, and then the shoes. 2 socks and then a shoe.
Okay.
Good.
I'm a little bit different. I kind of like to I don't like to walk around on my bare feet a lot, so I
Coach,
I wear socks.
Coach,
throughout.
I told him the same thing, and not to get too personal, Coach, not to get too
Right,
weird. I
right.
don't want to weird you out and be like, those guys are weird. But so I can't. Okay, so the first clothing items that I put on after showering is underwear and then socks. I don't want to walk around.
Yeah, right.
See,
No,
George is like, you're a
that.
psychopath. I'm like, I'm not a psychopath. I don't want my
No,
feet touching nothing.
it's just weird. It's one of those weird. I don't like to have dirty feet,
Right.
and
There you
so
go.
I always go underwear, socks right out of the shower.
Right.
Wake up in the morning, first thing I put on socks.
Exactly. Speaking of shower, this is another weird one, which caused a freaking Facebook 2,000 comments. You would have laughed your butt
Oh
off.
my word!
Yeah. So how do you enter the shower? Do you enter where the nozzles are, or do you enter the other section in the back of the shower?
Yeah, so I actually have a weird shower. I don't have like I can only enter one way, but I usually enter in the back
Yeah.
where the water is.
Well-
I don't hit
Yeah,
the
there
front
you go.
because I've had too many experiences where you hit the nozzle on accident and then you fall.
Yeah. That's
or you,
not
like,
good.
hit your head. Yeah.
Right. We had an interview with Blue Fitness, and she was like, "No, I go with the faucet." I'm like, "What psychopath wants to feel the water as soon as you get in? What are you doing?"
I mean, it's the pressure's too much.
Right.
Right in the boom, intense, just right in the face now.
Right. I can't stand up. I get
enter
up
from
early.
the other way. Yeah, no, that'll wake you up. That'll wake you up.
That'll get you going. All right, so
Yeah,
listen,
well.
I'm going to ask you about the GOAT. So recently, a couple months ago now, we had the MJ documentary came out.
Mm-hmm.
For you, who's your GOAT, MJ or LeBron?
Oh, MJ, not even close. MJ's the GOAT. You know why? Here's why, right? If you're down a point with less than 2 seconds to go, who's going to be clutch? Who's going to shoot? Who do you trust to sink that shot?
Oh yeah, MJ.
Jordan's going to hit it,
Yeah.
right?
Every
You know
time.
Jordan's going to hit it.
Right.
LeBron's biggest problem has always been his shooting, right? He's an awesome athlete. He can penetrate the hole as good as anybody. He's a great slasher. But I always felt that his shooting, it's gotten better, but I always felt his shooting was his weak spot.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind MJ was going to make the shot.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
if he got separation, he was making the shot.
Yeah.
So MJ's my GOAT.
Yeah, my
And I
God.
grew up watching him. MJ was the best.
Watching The Last Dance was like
And
being
if
a
you
kid
look
again.
at if you really look at look at today's NBA. Like, it's different than it was in the 90s, but not that different, right? Now it's a little bit more three and a little bit more finesse. It was a little tougher back in the 90s.
Yep.
MJ, what he was doing in the 90s was completely different than what was going on in the 70s and 80s, where you would, like, post up, get it to your big man, let him do his thing, and then rebound. Now it was like, all right, ISO one-on-ones, put your guy on an island and see if he can beat a guy. And that's what the pick and roll type deal. That's what really changed the game. I feel like was MJ was more transcendent in the changing the game into what it is.
Right.
And I think LeBron, freak athlete, right? You can't guard him. He's 260, swole, 6'8". But I always thought that MJ was just more clutch, and that's why he was the GOAT.
Yeah, man. I totally agree. I think Jordan was doing what the NBA is doing now, but he was doing it back then.
Right.
That's
20
the only
years
thing.
ago.
20, yeah,
25
exactly.
years ago.
He totally changed it. And I hate when
Right.
I listen to these guys like, oh, Jordan wouldn't be able to play as good. Yes, he would have. Jordan would
And
kill
he's
it
still
right now.
dominating. He'd kill it.
He's still dominating.
He would
If anything,
kill it
it'd be
right
easier
now.
for him now.
Right.
Because now you can't get fouled going to the hole.
Yeah.
Right.
Every little
Can you
touch, you
imagine?
can't do nothing.
Every touch he'd be an and one. That
Yeah.
dude had
Every
a
single
million
one.
more points.
Right. He'd been leading
He'd
the
average
league for
50 a
years.
game.
Yeah. These guys are nuts,
And he
man.
was a good defensive player. People forget how good he was on
Yes,
defense.
he locked people down.
He locked people down.
Yeah, he did, man. It was
So-
good stuff, man.
Not that LeBron doesn't, but
Right.
I don't know.
Now, I know you grew up playing quarterback and everything, so I'm going to take it back a little bit. I'm going to change the positions now. I'm going to give you a choice.
Okay.
You had a choice to be a great NFL kicker or an average NFL tight end. Which one are you going with?
Great kicker.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to make millions of dollars for 25 years. I'm going to kick on 50, right? B, my body's not getting hit the way the tight ends is. There's no CTE problems for me. I'm going to be functioning just fine. And C, everybody's going to remember I'll be a Hall of Famer. If I'm a great NFL kicker, like I'll make the Hall of Fame. If I was just an average tight end, like, and I bust chops with kickers, right?
Yeah.
But
they're fun to play. They're fun to make fun
long
of.
snappers who make money. And, I'll definitely kick. Let me kick the ball for 25, 30 years and make a couple $1 million and never get hit. Have you ever been to a college practice and see what they do?
Oh yeah.
They don't do anything.
Absolutely.
They just play around for an hour.
They're
and
really
go
good
home.
with the ball tricks. They're good with ball tricks. Like,
they are good with
they're
the ball.
good with ball. They have all day.
Really good with that
they have
stuff.
all day to do stuff.
They started, right. And like, oh, we've been here for an hour. We're out of here. Like, man, I got 4 more hours of practice in this baking sun, and you're out of here at an hour.
Right.
Get out of here.
Right. And I haven't met one kicker. I haven't met one kicker that wasn't funny. Like, I haven't met a kicker.
Oh, yeah.
These guys got some great. Well, they're all alone all the time, so maybe they got these great jokes to work on.
Oh, this is a knee slapper here.
Right. I got one for you guys. Listen to this one. Yeah, they're all eccentric, freaking, pretty funny guys, man. So you're right, Coach. I would go kicker as well. But that's our section of this and that, man. I really appreciate you participating. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this. That's our section, Coach. Coach, I want to keep going forever if you want to keep going.
Good.
But I know you got the family. I want you to have some time to yourself. I know how busy you are, man. If you don't mind, shoot out to the people where they can find you for your Phillips Quarterback Academy, man.
Yeah, so my Twitter handle is @Phillips QBA. My Instagram is @Phillips QBA. My Facebook, you can search Phillips QB Academy. And then the couple of the other businesses I work for, Future 4 QB, you can follow them on Twitter at Future 4 QB if you have a rising 5th through 8th grader. And then QB Universe is QB Universe Camp on Twitter and on Instagram. QB Universe is a pretty cool deal.
That's perfect, man. That's perfect. You guys got to go check them out. Thank you again, Coach, and be safe, man. We'll talk to you soon. Well, On the Clock fans, man, that was fantastic. Talking to Drew Phillips, man, from the Phillips Quarterback Academy. What a great conversation, man. We're going to definitely have him on again, man. That's something special right there. I want to keep going with that, man.
Yeah, that was a great conversation for sure. Again, just a reminder, if you want to follow us on Instagram or Twitter, simply search On the Clock Radio. If you want to send us an email, shoot us out an email ontheclock20@gmail.com. Please visit our website at otcsportstalk.com. And if you're interested in joining our fantasy football league, hit us up on social media or visit our website and let us know. Till next time, you're on the clock.